Tip number 7, build bigger bases. This one's fairly simple, but oftentimes I see people starting a little too small. If you want to build interesting bases, bases with more details similar to mine, you're going to have to think on a slightly larger scale, and that's just because every survival game ever made has sort of a core building block that you get. In Grounded, you get half walls and full walls, and then you add in all the curved walls and all that stuff, but they're all based around this same block size. And the only way you can get more detail out of those blocks is by building at a larger scale. So those things feel like they're a little bit smaller, and you have more space and blocks to mess with to kind of create that interesting design. If you start on a smaller scale, you can't really add in interesting details because the blocks are too large. But Minecraft is a great example. You can't build a circle in Minecraft because you have a simple square. But if you build up to a big enough scale, you can start to mimic the idea of a circle utilizing squares. If you look up a circle diagram for Minecraft, you can sort of see how that concept of scale allows you to make those interesting designs. And most designs in Minecraft tend to be 10, 15, 20 times larger than what they would be in real life, because that's the way you can add detail in that game specifically. And Grounded is very similar in that aspect, where the bigger you build, the easier it is to add in little details. And it really is what kind of allows you to build the interesting bases like I do. But on the same thing, if you build too small, it's often feels impossible because you have this design that you might be very interested in, and if you try to add on to it, it's going to ruin that effect. But if you just built that on a slightly larger scale, it allows you to manipulate the blocks in the game a little bit easier to create that detail. And I often find it's easier to kind of shrink things down if you have a lot of space, or just add more things on the inside, because I don't think anyone's going to complain about having 2 or 3 ovens instead of 1 oven, having 2 or 3 grinders instead of 1. Same thing goes with the silk rope and all that stuff. And so you really want to build on a slightly larger scale, because worst comes to it, you'll just fill the space up with more things and more chests, more items, more decor, which is only going to make your base better. But designing in really, really small, tight spaces, you have to be much more efficient with the blocks you're using, and it tends to make the design a lot more difficult. Doesn't mean that you can't build on a small scale by any means, but if you build bigger, I think it allows you a little bit more freedom and flexibility in how you can interact with the different blocks and decor in Grounded.